Today, we begin with a hearing that turned tense, pointed, and revealing. In a political moment shaped by a landmark Supreme Court ruling on presidential immunity, senators pressed Attorney General nominee Pam Bondi on one central question. Does she have the independence and the backbone to say no to a president who demands legally or ethically questionable actions? If you're new here, remember to subscribe so you stay informed as these high-stakes developments continue to unfold.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Bondi, as you know, the Supreme Court in Trump versus United States held the president has absolute immunity to commit crimes in certain core areas of the president's responsibility. One of those core areas is the Justice Department. So in a breathtakingly dangerous and irresponsible decision, Justice Roberts and the majority held the president could commit crimes using the Department of Justice and be immune from prosecution. Justice Sotomayor correctly said this new immunity lies about like a loaded weapon. So the fear and the concern we have is that the incoming president will use that loaded weapon, that immunity, to commit crimes through the Department of Justice. And for that reason, it is all the more important that we have an attorney general who has the independence, the strength, the intestinal fortitude to say no to the president when it is necessary. So my first set of questions has to do whether you have the independence to say no when you must say no. And you can say this is hypothetical, but it is not hypothetical. So let me start with one very specific non-hypothetical. The president has said Jack Smith should go to jail. Will you investigate Jack Smith?
Senator, I haven't seen the file. I haven't seen the investigation. I haven't looked at anything. It would be irresponsible of me to make a commitment regarding anything without, you're a long practicing attorney, without looking at a file.
So you would need a factual predicate to open an investigation of Jack Smith, is that right?
Not a summary by you sitting here. Yes, sir.
And not a summary by the president either, right?
Absolutely.
So a summary by the president or his desire to investigate Jack Smith would not be enough for you to open an investigation of Jack Smith, is that right?
I will look at the facts and evidence in any case.
And sitting here today,
Senator, 72% of Americans have lost faith in the Department of Justice.
Sitting here today, are you aware of any factual predicate to investigate Jack Smith? Sitting here today, yes or no?
Senator, I will look at the facts and the circumstances.
You can't answer that question. You're not a part of the department yet. There's no worry about divulging law enforcement sensitive information. So just tell us, are you aware of a factual predicate to investigate Jack Smith? Yes or no?
Senator, what I'm hearing on the news is horrible. Do I know if you committed a crime? I have not.
You seem reluctant to answer a simple question. Let me ask you a different simple question. The president also wants to jail Liz Cheney. Sitting here today, are you aware of any factual basis to investigate Liz Cheney? Yes or no?
Senator, that's a hypothetical, and I'm not going to answer that question.
No, it's not hypothetical. I'm asking you, sitting here today, whether you are aware of a factual predicate to investigate Liz Cheney.
Senator, no one has asked me to investigate Liz Cheney. That is a hypothetical.
The president has called for it publicly. You are aware of that, aren't you?
No one has asked me to investigate.
But the president has
We're also worried about Liz Cheney,
the president has
you know
called
what we
for
should
this.
be worried about?
Ms. Bondi, please answer my questions.
California right now
you are aware,
through the roof.
Ms. Bondi,
your robberies are 87% higher than the national average.
My question is this.
That's what I want to be focused on, Senator.
Do you have the power to say no to the president? And what you're suggesting today by your non-answer is you don't have the independence to say no to the president. So let me ask you a different question. It also requires you, if you're going to be a good attorney general, to be able to tell hard truths to the president. So my questions now are, can you tell hard truths to the president? So let me start with an easy truth that you could speak to the president. Can you tell him that Donald Trump lost the 2020 election? Can you say that? Do you have the independence to say that? Do you have the gravitas, the stature, the intestinal fortitude to say, Donald Trump, you lost the 2020 election? Can you tell us that here today?
Senator, what I can tell you is I will never play politics. You're trying to engage me in a gotcha. I won't do it. I won't play politics with any ongoing investigation like you did leaking your colleague Devin Nunes's memo.
If you can't answer the question, let me ask you a different, what should be a simple truth, not a hard one. Was there massive fraud affecting the result of the 2020 election, yes or no?
Senator, I'm glad you asked that question. If you'll let me answer what I saw in Pennsylvania.
No, I asked a simple question about massive fraud.
I can only tell you what I saw in Pennsylvania.
I know you want to answer a different question, but my question is, can you tell us whether there was massive fraud affecting the results of the 2020 election? Yes or no? Was there or was there not?
I can tell you what I saw when I went as an advocate to the campaign.
That's not my question. So you can't answer that question. You can't speak that even easy truth to us, let alone to the president. So let me ask you a different question. It will also be important that you give good advice to the president. Are you prepared to advise the president not to pardon people who beat police officers?
Senator, as I said, the pardons are at the direction of the president. We will look and we will advise. I will look at every case on a case. Let me finish on a case-by-case basis.
Okay, good.
And I abhor violence to police officers.
Follow up with that. So will it be your advice to the president, Mr. President, I know you said you want to issue hundreds of pardons on day one. Will it be your advice to the president? No, Mr. President, I need to go over them on a case-by-case basis. Do not issue blanket pardons. Will that be your advice to the president?
Senator, I have not looked at any of those files. If confirmed, I will look at the files
And
for
will
the
you be able to
pardons, as
do,
well
will
as
you
the
be able to
ongoing
review
investigation.
hundreds of cases on day one?
I will look at every file I am
Of course
asked
you
to
won't.
look
So
at.
will you advise the
Hey,
president?
can I
will
answer
you-
the question?
Well, my question
I would have plenty of staff. You said, of course you want.
You'll be able to review
I'm
hundreds
not
of
going to
cases the first day?
mislead this body, nor you.
All right, let me ask another question. You don't want to answer that. Let me ask
You were
another question.
censured by
It will
Congress,
also-
Senator, for
it will
comments just
also-
like this that
it
are
will
so
also- It will also be important for you to be able to preserve the records, the evidence of the department. Are you ready to commit that none of the evidence in the January 6th investigation will be destroyed under your watch?
Senator, I will follow the law. I will consult with ethical officials in the
Do you
department.
see any ethical basis to destroy evidence in the January 6th investigation? Then why can't you answer the question? Why can't you say, I commit to this committee, we will never destroy the evidence in the January 6th investigation? Why can't you give this committee and the American people that assurance?
Are you frightened because evidence was destroyed against President Trump that was false? Is that why you're
Why do
frightened
you
now?
have
I can't
difficulty?
believe this is even.
Why do you have difficulty answering that question?
I can't believe
Why do
you're
you have
asking such a
difficulty?
question.
Why do you have difficulty promising to preserve evidence at the Department of Justice? Why is that a difficult question?
I will follow the law.
It shouldn't be a difficult question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Bondi, I know that you are pleased that we are moving to the end of round one, and we appreciate your being here.
The exchange centered on the Supreme Court's recent decision in Trump v. United States, a ruling that expanded presidential immunity for actions considered part of the core responsibilities of the office. The Justice Department falls squarely into that category, which means the court's decision effectively grants the president broad protection from prosecution for decisions made through the department. Critics warn this could open the door to abuse. Justice Sotomayor herself called the ruling a loaded weapon waiting to be used. That warning set the tone for the hearing. If the president now holds unprecedented immunity in the realm of federal law enforcement, the independence of the attorney general becomes even more essential. Viewers, this is the type of moment where clarity matters, so be sure to subscribe so you never miss context like this. The questioning grew sharp when senators asked Bondi whether she would investigate special counsel Jack Smith simply because the president wants him jailed. Bondi repeatedly declined to answer directly. She said she had not seen any evidence and could not rely on summaries from senators or the president. But what struck many watching was what she did not say. She would not affirm that she was currently aware of no factual basis for such an investigation. That refusal raised alarms because the question was not about secret files or sensitive material, but simply about her own knowledge. A nominee insisting she cannot say whether she knows something when the subject is a foundational question of rule of law is unusual. These moments matter, and if you appreciate this breakdown, make sure you subscribe so you can stay ahead of developments like this. Senators pushed further, asking about the president's public calls to prosecute Liz Cheney. Again, Bondi avoided a direct yes or no regarding whether she was aware of any evidence. She framed the question as hypothetical, even though the president has repeatedly made such requests publicly. The tension in the room came from what the senators were testing. They were not asking Bondi to prejudge cases. They were asking whether she could speak an obvious truth even when it contradicts the president's wishes. That kind of independence is not theoretical. It becomes the difference between an attorney general who enforces the law and one who simply executes the political desires of a president cloaked under new immunity protections. As always, if you're finding this analysis useful, remember to subscribe for more in-depth reporting. The questioning turned to the 2020 election. Bondi would not say that Donald Trump lost the election. She would not say whether there was massive fraud affecting the result. Instead, she tried to pivot to what she saw in Pennsylvania during her involvement in legal efforts weeks after the election. The senator pressed repeatedly because the ability to speak basic truths, especially widely verified truths, is a measure of independence. If someone cannot say something simple under oath, such as acknowledging the certified results of an election, there is little confidence that person will challenge the president privately when it matters most. This matters for democracy, and if you want coverage that explains why, remember to subscribe. The exchange continued with questions about presidential pardons. The senator asked whether Bondi would advise the president not to issue blanket pardons, especially for people who assaulted police officers. Bondi did not commit to that either. She said she would look at each file but avoided the broader principle of whether mass pardons on day one would undermine accountability. What senators were trying to determine was whether Bondi's legal advice would be independent or whether it would simply accommodate whatever the president intends to do. Viewers, these kinds of hearings shape the future of federal law enforcement, so subscribe so you do not miss the significance of moments like these. Finally, perhaps the most revealing moment came when the senator asked whether Bondi could commit to preserving all evidence from the January 6 investigation. Bondi would not give an unconditional yes. She insisted she would follow the law and consult ethics officials, but preservation of evidence is a baseline expectation.